So for some of the ingredients, you'll need powdered sugar, almond flour, granulated sugar. This was a pie filling or a strawberry puree, some sea salt or just regular salt, 3 large eggs, any kind of heavy whipping cream that you can find at the store, and chocolate chips. I use semi-sweet. So the first thing you're going to want to do, which I'm doing right here, is just sifting the powdered sugar. This is really good to make sure everything is fine so that your macaroon tops won't be bubbly or crusty. It'll just be a perfect flat top. You only need to do this step one time. For step number 2, you're going to want to grab your almond flour and start sifting it as well, just like we did for the powdered sugar, except this step you repeat 3 times, and this is just because every time you will get some of the almond chunks of the flour still in the sifter, and we don't want those in our almond flour and powdered sugar mixture, because in the end that's not going to make a great outcome for the cookie. So just what I would do in the end is just throw away the extra. If you see there are the big chunks that I am using a spoon to just kind of flatten so we can just keep sifting those through. If you don't get rid of those big balls, it's really hard to actually just sift them. So what we are doing right here is basically using the almond flour mixture and the powdered sugar mixture, and we are just mixing them together. I also added the salt to this step, and then it's just creating the dry ingredients base for later when we are going to incorporate it into our eggs. So when you get to the egg portion, you don't actually need to use the thing that I'm using, but if you have one, that's great. What I'm doing is basically just taking the yolk out of the whites. All you need is the white part of the egg, and it's really key that you don't get any yolk in the batter, because it won't rise the same, and it'll actually just not poof up at all, and we're trying to get our eggs poofy in the end. So right now I am using my hand mixer with my whisk attachment. You really want to use a whisk attachment to get the eggs to have the best amount of oxygen in them. That's what helps them to rise and bubble up, as you will see that they are doing. You are going to want to just keep whisking them until they become a soft peak. And how you know that they're a soft peak is when it's all foamy and white and you pull out your whisk, you should have like a little mound, and the tip of the mound should tip over so it just doesn't keep its form. That's how you know it's a soft peak. Another good tip is to use a glass bowl or a metal bowl, and that just helps the eggs rise a lot faster. I'm not really sure why, but it does. And if you don't have a glass bowl or a metal bowl, that's totally fine. You can use whatever bowl you got, but that's just a better option. At this stage in your egg mixing, what you're going to want to do is grab your granulated sugar and slowly pour it in. If you pour it in too fast, it'll actually deflate the eggs, which is not what we want. We want it to reach a hard peak, which basically is a soft peak, except when you pull the whisk out, it's going to keep a huge tip, and it won't fall over like the soft peak, and that's how you know it's ready. Another way you will know it's ready, which I have in a video coming up shortly, is you should be able to put it over your head without it falling on you, the bowl. Flip it over. It's kind of scary, but kind of fun. Once you've gotten those eggs just to where you want them, it is time to incorporate the strawberry puree or pie filling, just no chunks of the strawberries, into the eggs. And then I also added a little bit of the powder mixture into the eggs as well. And that's because you want both mixtures to have something in common in order to get the best results. So by adding soft ingredients or dry ingredients to the eggs, it'll help incorporate everything better. Now what you're going to want to do is take the rest of it, and I would go by half maybe, just dump it into the egg mixture as well and keep stirring it in and making sure that there's no air pockets or just dry ingredients around the bowl or underneath. You really want everything to be very well incorporated. As you see, you can see some of the streaks still from the strawberries, so you want to just make sure everything is really well blended out. By the end of everything, you should be able to make a figure 8 with your batter, and that's how you know it's very well, I guess, incorporated. You want to make sure that you can do a figure 8 without breaking it, and that just means you've folded it the perfect amount. You don't want to overfold or underfold, because that can also change the alteration of the cookie, which you just want them to come out very nice and fun and fluffy. Yeah. So here's a little baker's tip for you that I'm going to add. You take a little bit of the batter and you just put it on your pan. You gotta use parchment paper for the cookies or else they will stick, and by using batter underneath, that's a very good way to keep the parchment paper stuck to the pan, so while you are piping, it doesn't move around on you. I learned from trial and error, and this is definitely the best way to do it. So now it's time to pour your batter into the piping bag. Don't be alarmed if there's a lot of batter compared to the piping bag. You will want a large piping bag. In the end, I kind of just lifted up the edges around the cup that I was using to just be able to fill it even more. And then in the end, you're going to want to pinch them all the sides together and twist a little bit and cut off the end excess. So here you will see me cut off the end, and then this is just me demonstrating how to pipe it. You want to keep it in a same spot, not try and twist it into a circle. Just keep it in the same section and just squeeze the bag to get the best results. And make sure to keep the batter on the counter for 2 hours to dry before cooking. Set the oven for 350 and cook for 10 minutes. Grab your heavy whipping cream, heat it up, and then add semi-sweet chocolate. That's when you stir and it'll melt, and then that's how you get your ganache for the filling of the cookies. Now it's time to fill the cookies, and you just do it right in the center and smush the cookies together, and there you have it. This is your final result, and it looks great.